everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Natalie Franke. I am the co-founder of the Rising Tide Society and the head of community here at HoneyBook. And I want to welcome you to our Global Virtual Tuesdays Together. For anyone who's new, just in case you're popping in for the first time, this is your first time connecting with us here at Rising Tide. We are a community of small business owners, independent freelancers, service providers, creative entrepreneurs who unite in the spirit of community over competition. We have hundreds of local chapters that are led by extraordinary volunteer leaders, co-leaders, and chairs, a Facebook community with over 70,000 community members that is facilitated by an incredible team of online moderators, and educational resources that we release almost daily, including blog posts, webinars, templates, monthly downloadable guides, and so much more, completely free to our community. We believe fiercely that an empowered creative economy will change the world by elevating voices of small business owners, sharing their stories, and building a thriving community. We set out to support you in your pursuit of building a sustainable livelihood. And as so many of you know, we started these Global Tuesdays Together last year when the pandemic got started, and we realized that it would no longer be safe for us to gather in person as we had done for years. And we received such an overwhelmingly positive response of bringing our educational content into this format online that we've continued to do it, and we will continue to do it here on out. And so Global Tuesdays Together have become very much a center point of the offerings that we provide to our community for free to help you access education that's truly going to take your business further and perhaps even to a level beyond you could have ever imagined. And so today, this topic is so important. This topic is so incredibly important, SEO. And we know it can be overwhelming. We know that search engine optimization can be something that is intimidating, but we're here today with Feuza Reis to help us specifically, to help us specifically get started with those three letters, SEO, and what that means for your business and how you can ultimately leverage that to take things to the next level. So we're about to jump in, we're about to dive in, but before we do, and we were chatting about this before, and Feuza has something really amazing to include in our giveaway. If you've attended Tuesdays Together before, you know we do a giveaway with our global event that involves just sharing on social media, on Instagram stories, and tagging us. And today's is even more exciting. Feuza has upped the ante. She has given us such an extraordinary bonus to this giveaway that you're going to want to listen in, and you're going to want to listen in very carefully. We are giving away a $50 Amex gift card, virtual Amex gift card, as we always do. But even more exciting than that, Feuza is giving away a 1 year of her Ignite membership, which is valued at over $1,000. And that includes access to all of her courses, from SEO to Pinterest and so much more, but ultimately all of the wisdom that you could possibly want in this arena, accessible for 1 year in her membership community. It's called the Ignite membership. And all you have to do to be entered for the gift card, for access to this membership, is to share today on Instagram stories and tag at Rising Tide Society and at Fuse Creative Inc. And I think, Kate, can you drop those tags for me into the chat so people can easily grab those tags when they go to post? And oftentimes all we say is you can post either a quote that Feuza shares with you that resonates, or, you know, if there is a specific bit of information that you learn, or just where you're watching and tuning in from, because again, we may be separated by physical distance, but we are united in digital togetherness here at Global Tuesdays Together. And so you can even share how you're tuning in today, notes you're taking, learnings you're having, post it on Instagram stories, tag Rising Tide Society, tag Fuse Creative Inc., and we will make sure that you are entered in that giveaway. And we announce that giveaway at the close of the hour here on Zoom. So you'll find out before the end today who won, and be able to get access to those prizes if you are the winner. So without further ado, I want to welcome up this extraordinary woman and leader to the stage. Feuza is the founder of Get Found with Fuse. She's a blogger, mom, SEO teacher, and a lover of travel. She helps small creative businesses understand what Google wants and how to get more traffic, which in turn turns into more inquiries and bookings. She sparks your fuse so you can shine like a diamond on the interweb. Her true passion is to equip creative solopreneurs and bloggers with practical DIY SEO training so you can remove the layers of fears and doubts. Feuza wants you to be empowered and feel confident when marketing your business. You may recognize Feuza from blog posts on our blog, the Rising Tide blog, and features in the Dynamic Range, Rangefinder, and Photos TV. Without further ado, Feuza, thank you so much for joining us.
Yay!
I want to welcome you into Global Tuesdays Together.
So last time I saw Natalie in person was, I think, 5 years ago at WPPI. And I think that's when Rising Tide was just starting, no?
Yes.
It's been 5
we were
years.
6 years old. So it would be right at sort of the beginning.
And so much has happened. You have 2 kids now?
One, and then I'll show y'all.
Yes, and one coming. Yes, so much. And then you've traveled, relocated. Me too. I've also relocated. I live now in South Florida. Last time I was in South Carolina. So 5 years has gone, but we can say that the last year and a half has been like 5 years, right? So much has happened. So thank you everyone for having me. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm really excited about the giveaway and the things I'm going to share today. And, very similar to what Rising Tide Society stands for. I really believe that if I can change or help one entrepreneur, then that means that's helping their family. And if that's helping their family, that's helping the community. If that's helping the community, it really can change the world. So I just love creatives and I love helping small businesses. So that's why I'm really excited that I'm here.
Amazing. Oh, well, we're honored to have you. We are so excited to dive into this topic. And we shared this with Feuza before we hopped on. Today's Tuesdays Together, we received more questions from our audience than at any other Global Tuesdays Together ever. And I think that goes to show, one, that there is so much ambiguity, questions, and just concern and fear and doubts. You mentioned doubts even in your bio around this type of marketing that we have as solopreneurs, freelancers, independent businesses. But also such an interest in this topic, an understanding that this is important. This is valuable knowledge to help take us to where we want to go in our business. So let's start off with a very broad question that I know you get all the time. And I know a lot of us, I know I've asked it, frankly, and that is, can I DIY SEO? Can I really make an impact on my own SEO? And, if that's possible, any tips and suggestions you have right out of the gate? Is it possible to DIY it, and your feedback there?
Yes. So the answer is yes. If I can do it. So when I started with SEO 10 years ago, I said that the crazy Brazilian mom with the 2 small kids I wasn't welcome. It was a very male tech savvy, nothing wrong with the fellas, very male tech savvy world. But when I started implementing and I started seeing the results where brides were like, I found you on Google, I'm like, there's something there. Guess what? I don't need to be an SEO expert. Even today, as I'm called an SEO expert, I'm not, I have people that do other techie stuff, but I realized that there were practical things that I could do on my own and that can get me results. And then when people started coming to me and I'm like, who am I to teach this? Never would I imagine I'd be teaching this. I realized that the same practical things that I applied, they could apply, because let's get this straight. Nobody wants to learn SEO. It's not about SEO. So my 3 pillars are visibility, credibility, and organic sales. At the end of the day, it's all about the sale, because SEO is great, guys, but it's like, I always say this, it's like opening up a shop on 5th Avenue in New York. Let's say everything's open. That's great. There's a gazillion foot traffic there, but if your storefront is not enticing to come in, or if the customer service sucks, you're not going to make a sale. So sometimes I think creatives get caught up in competition sometimes and like outranking someone. It's not about that. It's about you staying in your lane and establishing a long-term relationship with Google. So that's why the strategies that I like and that I teach, they're sustainable. They're for the long run. Now, yes, you can DIY SEO. There's also no SEO switch. There's a lot of things that can be done, but there is nothing like, okay, guys, let's turn it on. It's on, we're good. Because it is ongoing. But the good news is that it all starts with that foundation. So if you don't have a foundation, or if you're confused in the foundation, then that's really like kind of your first step. And I like to say that the first time I heard SEO, I had no idea, what is that? I pretended I knew. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, which really means that optimization is a big word. I always think of the word boost. There's things that you could do with your website, with your blog, with your Pinterest, with your Google My Business in order for search engines to find your services, products, and your website online. Now, there is a difference, like I said, between local SEO and like a general universal SEO. So I always give this example. If I type in pizza, how does Google know that I'm looking for a pizzeria versus a pizza recipe? We call this local modifiers, which we're going to get into some more examples. So that's why when I ask you guys, what do you want to be found for? It's really important for me to know that, is it online? Are you looking to be a photo mentor online? Or are you looking to be found for a photography studio in Pittsburgh? So there is a difference there in how you approach it. But basically that's what SEO is. You can DIY it. A lot of people will outsource later, but even if you outsource, it's really valuable for you to know what it entails so you don't get screwed. There's a lot of marketing agencies out there that it's just a lot of fluff. You don't want to be in the dark. And, you know, that's why I like breaking things down into like baby food, because, you know, you don't need to become an SEO expert. Like, you need to do things to increase your visibility, your credibility, and so you can make those organic sales. So I'm always like, leads while I sleep. Yes, please come on in that inbox.
Amazing, amazing. And at what point do you realize, though, as you're DIYing it, is there a point where you might want to consider outsourcing
Yes.
your SEO? And like, what?
Yes. So for example, nowadays I don't take on projects to do SEO for people, but a lot of people are hiring me for a VIP day, which is an immersion where we do all the things. It's really an implementation day. So so a lot of these clients of mine now, for that, they're already clients who have had SEO. They're either pivoting, or they either realize they're not getting the results and they realize they need a change. Right. So they're hiring me so we could do SEO in a day kind of thing and make it better. So some of these people, it's like they're not seeing results with what they've done in the past, or, you know, they're pivoting, or they're relocating and they're afraid to screw it up, or they've, you know, DIY'd it, but it's been kind of like the Band-Aid patches, you know, like just a bunch of Band-Aids, and now they really want to get it together. So there might be a time where you're in one of those situations. You're pivoting. Maybe you're going from local to online. A lot of us have had to pivot, or a lot of us are adding other types of services where you might want to either consult with someone or hire someone to do, you know, in a day. I don't think, unless you're really busy, big studio or something, I don't think you really need to hire a marketing agency and pay like 6 months, a year, unless you 100% want to outsource it and you haven't done a thing. Then hire, you know, marketing agency for 6 months or something like that. But, you know, for I think the needs that I see here, I don't think that's needed.
No, I love that. And I also love sort of leaning into there is a world where right now a lot of us are pivoting.
Yeah.
A lot of us are changing. A lot of us are experiencing relocations. We know that we're living through one of the greatest workforce changes potentially ever. That's being discussed in like very, very large macro settings. You know, 40% of people are thinking of quitting their jobs this year. And that means many of those might perhaps step into small business, or for those who have been in small business, last year might have changed the way you want to take your business, or maybe what services you're offering. And so with that in mind, you know, it leads us into this question of, where do we get started with keywords? How do we get started with keywords? Because the keywords of last year might not be the keywords that we want to be found for this year. And as these pivots are happening, I'd love, oh, great. Here we go. I'd love
Here we go.
Feuza, just dive on in.
Yeah, we dive in.
She's ready. She's ready.
You have to leave here with practical things you can do. This is not an inspire you to get found type of thing. Okay, so keywords. So what are keywords? Keywords are basically the very SEO term. One of the first things you hear when you start like learning or listening about SEO is keywords. Keywords are essentially the words that people are typing into search engines like Google, Yahoo, Bing. Yes, people use Yahoo and Bing. And that was one of the questions, which I thought was interesting. In search engines, in order to look for an idea, a place, an inspiration, a product, and so forth. So keywords are consistent words. So it could be one, you know, calligrapher. I don't know if I said that right. Two, you know, wedding calligraphy. Three, St. Louis wedding calligraphy, or final, I don't know. That's like, I don't know anything about calligraphy. I just came up with that because I saw somebody wrote that. You know, stationery. It could be like, you know, custom corporate invitation, or custom wedding stationery. So those are 3 words. Anytime you go beyond 3 words, we call those long tail keywords. What I love about long tail keywords is that if you can land one, there's less search, but there's way less whatchamacallit, competition. So one of the best things or ways that you could actually work on your keywords, you're going to answer 3 questions, right? So I call this the 2 sets of keywords. The first set is your main keywords, right? What do you do? Where do you do it? Like if I'm, a wedding photographer in Orlando, guess what? I'm a wedding photographer in Orlando. So it's to answer these questions. What do you do? Where do you do it? But you need to get a little bit more, deeper. Wedding photographers, what else do? You do engagement photos. Maybe you do bridal boudoir. Maybe there's something else. Bridal portraits, right? In the South, I know bridal portraits is a thing. Like people just hire someone for bridal portraits. So I want you not just to say what you do and where you do it, but I want you to list out your services. Another column. So you could start an Excel thing and list out your services, all of them. So if you do maternity, do you do families? Do you do newborns? Do you do cake smash? If you do video, what kind of video? Is it corporate video? Is it event video? Is it business videos, right? So don't just say video. I forget if you can remember any other examples. I saw video, I saw graphic design. If you're a graphic designer, what do you do within that? What are the services? Is it logo? Is it branding packages? Is it website design? So services. Then we're looking at, do you sell any products, which is a little different as well. E-commerce is a whole other beast. We're not going to talk about e-commerce today, unless somebody has a very specific question at the end that we could get to. But products. So do you offer albums? Do you offer prints? If you're doing stationery, you're selling these things online. What are the products? So this I call the main keyword ideas. The problem with the main keyword idea is that maybe there's 1,000 other Orlando wedding photographers, and there's only 10 spots on the first page of Google. And there's a saying in the SEO world that, where can you hide a dead body? On page 2 of Google, which I don't believe, because I actually go to page 2 for things if I don't find what I need, especially if there's those like spammy, websites like Thumbtack. I never look at those things. But essentially, we're trying to get on the page 1, page 2 of Google. But the good news is that there's this whole other world, what I call alternative keywords, which is your FAQs. So people get very stuck on wanting to rank for what they do and where you do it. And sometimes what you do and where you do it has no search volume, right? So do not like narrow yourself by that. Like, I don't want you to get found by 2 keywords. I want you to get found by 30, 50, 100. So your keyword list is always growing. It's not a like, oh, this is it. So what are some questions that you get about your business, right? So alternative keywords, FAQs. I think about my ideal audience, right? So if my ideal audience are moms, what keeps moms up at night? What to do with their kids? What do I do with my kids in the summer? What do I do with my kids during COVID? What do I do with my kids in the fall? What do I do with my kids if there's no summer camp? If your target audience is a bride, what if I have to reschedule my wedding during COVID? How to plan a wedding during COVID? So yes, this gets into a little bit more blog type things, but the biggest mistake and the number one thing that we're always working on with the VIP clients is lack of content on the website and copy. So copy and text is going to be really essential. So this might scare some of you all, but that list of services, your main services, if you don't have a page targeting each service, then that's a problem. So there's this misconception that our whole website is going to target everything we do, and it doesn't work that way. So each page is really targeting a specific keyword. So you may think, oh, I have a portfolio page. I have a portfolio for maternity. I have a portfolio for newborns, and I have a portfolio page for family. Well, if it's just photos and no text, and then you have one info page where everything is crammed together, that you have no pages targeting maternity photographer in your city. So a lot of people, they need copy and they need text. So this is why when I say the alternative keywords, it's going to help you with the FAQs for each service that you do. One of the easiest ways to find great long tail keywords and copy for your site is what we call Google Suggest. So let's say Natalie or Kate, do you want to read me an example of somebody, what they do? Let's just pull one example there. I don't see the chat anymore. I'm sorry.
Sure. Why don't we do social media consultant?
Okay. So, okay. Social media consulting.
Yeah. Or even see, like I
Okay.
saw as you were typing, I even saw manager pop up, right? Which might be
So
maybe a
then,
more
so
common
yeah, so there's
phrase.
two things.
Interesting.
So first, this is the Google Suggest. There's two things I want to show you here. So there's a Google Suggest. So this is more for the consultant itself, right? So like companies rate salary packages. Okay, then Goldmine. Ignore this. This was like this plugin that I had before, but now it's paid, so I don't use it anymore. Free. This is free. Okay, look at this. People also ask. It's Google telling you the top queries that people are asking. Another huge mistake, especially in the creative industry, is you think too much like your industry and you don't think enough like your client. I'll give you two examples. Remember like 7 years ago when fine art wedding photography was a thing? And everyone wanted to be a fine art wedding photographer and shoot film and all this stuff. Unless you were an art director in New York, you're not using those terms. The same thing's happening today with branding photographers. Actually, Kate, I didn't send you, but I do have this great cheat sheet for branding keywords for I've done all the research pretty much, and I'm giving that for free. So people are not looking at brand photographer, right? If you're actually, you even could get confused with someone that offers branding services, right? People are still looking up headshots. So on the back end, I have to target headshots. I really need to use the terms that people use. So newborn photographers do this all the time. They say newborn session. Nobody's saying newborn photo session, or using what are the variations of your terms, right? So if I go to your site and you're a photographer and it just says photos, that's a problem. I want to see the word pictures. I want to see the word images. I want to see the word portraits and those variations. And how are you going to find those? This people also ask. So social media management, here it's still leaning towards, I'm just putting, well, I can't spell, but this one's like kind of a general. So how do I find a social media manager? Is it worth to hire a social media manager? So in your about page or your services, these all should be H2 headings. Well, not all, because I'm going to put this one, but I would put, how do I find one? Could be a blog post or that, or an Instagram post. Is it worth it to hire a social media manager? And then go into your spiel, right? So let's do one more. Let's do a local one. Well, let's do a different, I feel like I talk about photographers all the time. Is there another one, Natalie, you want me to pull up real quick?
Sure. Yeah. Why don't we do San Francisco baker, wedding cake baker?
I'm just saying wedding cakes for now.
Perfect.
Okay. Where can I buy a cake in San Francisco? I don't know who MNS is, but they're probably famous. But this right here, if you don't have this in your FAQ page, how far in advance should you order a wedding cake? You're missing out. I mean, look at how long that is. Like, I can't make this up. People are actually asking this question. And the reason why, and you could actually show up in this section called people also ask if you're answering your question in bullet point form or even in numbers. If you land a long tail keyword like that, it's going to bring you, I'm telling you, hundreds, if not thousands of visitors every month. It's happened to me. What are people saying about custom cakes? So this is interesting. So Yelp is having something kind of people also ask, right? So a lot of these websites are coming up that are kind of like Main Street, but this one's coming up. But then also,
yeah, and we picked a big city. I mean, we could
yeah,
niche
we did
down
pick
even, if we want to
pick a big city, but
because the big guns will target it, like
so
like the Knot and all of these. Yeah.
Yes, people also ask. So people also ask is one of my favorites. Another one that's popular because the one I just showed you kind of got shut down. So it's called, I think it's Uber. I don't know how to pronounce it. I say Uber because I just think of Uber. So Uber suggests, right? So I'm going to say, I don't know, wedding cake. I'm just going to make it general. So the cool thing about this site, you could sign up for free. You don't actually have to pay for the version, but it's going to tell me that it's going to tell me how much search there is per month. But it's also going to tell me this right here, which is SEO difficulty. So I know I'm not going to rank for wedding cake, right? But maybe there's another term in here that I could find. I don't know, wedding cake weed. Maybe if you're a Colorado, one of those places. Sorry, that was funny. But there's
we have a cannabis person watching right now, actually.
So 12,000 searches. 47 is a little high, but what you can do is you could kind of get narrower, right? But the cool thing about the site is it's going to show you who's ranking. Look, Pinterest is always ranking. Also, it's going to show you how many shares. Where are these people getting these shares from, right? So it's always interesting to, you know, to me to see, right? So I look up senior portraits or senior photographer. So I look for ideas for senior portraits is only 19. That means this is not that hard to rank for. You know, and that could be a subheading in your senior portraits page. Here's some ideas for senior portraits. Senior portrait ideas for girls, have a little gallery. Senior portrait ideas for guys, have a little gallery. So this is another cool site. This one I want to be using more. It's called Answer the Public. It's kind of funny. Well, usually there's someone there, like a live, well, they're not live, it's pre-recorded. But so here, it gives you a lot of searches by questions, prepositions, and like a few other things. So you basically, I think you're limited to 3 a day, but look at all, which, why, where, look at all these questions, and then prepositions, then comparisons, which is awesome. Another underutilized tool that's only available for the US, Canada, and the UK is trends.pinterest.com. So Pinterest tells you exactly what's trending in their platform for that week, which can be amazing for creatives, right? So if you're a designer, obviously there's certain, you know, if you're a lawyer, that's not going to really do anything for you. But sometimes I'll find, like, so I saw in the fashion, where was the fashion? So I saw in the fashion that 80s party outfit, but there was something about festival outfits. I was like, oh my God, if I was a senior photographer, I would do a whole inspiration thing. I would do a shoot even, like, here's a festival, or I would look at past, you know, portraits that I've done that have that boho whatever feel. And I would be like, I would do a blog post recap, curated of things I already have, and I would pin that baby. So like there's really, and then I would make a blog post, whatchamacallit, not a blog post. I don't know what Coconut Girl aesthetic outfits is, but I would do an IG post. So it's beauty, food and drink, home decor. So not always is going to be in your, but sometimes it'll just inspire you. So road trip with kids is a huge one right now. Huge one, because a lot of people, you know, it's staycations. A lot of people want to get out of the house, but they still can't go far. So I love it. So these are some of the tools that I recommend. I didn't mean to take so long with keywords, but you got to do the research for sure.
Perfect. And we've had a couple quick questions that I feel like we can hit in the keyword arena real quickly. Sarah Welch asks, what about plurals on words? Do I need both? For example, you know, she uses reception versus receptions, ceremony versus ceremonies. How do plurals and keywords play into each other when you're thinking about what to include?
I love this question. Love it. So variations matter. So let's say that I was a wedding officiant. Okay. And let's say my only service, I only do weddings, one service. I don't really have that many pages. So let's say I had 4 pages on my site. So each page needs to target a unique keyword. So my main page could be wedding officiant San Francisco. Then the other one, you know, could be celebrating ceremonies or ceremonies, you know, whatever coordinator, I'm not sure. So that's the cool, same thing with photography versus photographer. And it's also doing the keyword search. So sometimes what I'll do with that is I will do site, then is the two dots colon or semicolon? I forget. Sometimes I'll look at the difference and see how many search results there are for each. And if I could tell that one's more popular. But that is a great way for you to use variety in your keywords for image SEO, for example. So let's say I have a wedding ceremony page because I'm an efficient and I have 5 photos in there, and each photo image SEO should have a unique alt text. Then one can be wedding ceremony San Francisco, the other one can be wedding ceremony inspiration, and then plural. So I think that's a great question.
I love it. We have a couple also real quick ones to hear. Emily Steinman asks, I have an online business, branding and web design with a focus on accessibility. So I don't necessarily need local keywords, but should I consider adding them? And that question of, for a lot of our digital entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that work fully remotely, when do you consider adding a local component to the keyword?
So much. Okay. The question is, have you had one local client? If the answer is yes, you need to Google My Business, period. So even if you decide not to optimize your pages on your site for local, Google My Business makes up 25% of local SEO. And it's the easiest way for you to get found online. To optimize is easy. The workflow is easy. You do need at least 5 reviews and be working on your reviews. And because a lot of us set that up and forget it and think that that's it. No. If I go to your profile and it says 2017, your last photo, that's a problem. You need to be updating your photos monthly on Google My Business. So my answer to that is that what you can do in that case is take your about page and optimize just that page for local and say, hey, I am a Fort Lauderdale brand designer or graphic designer. And then that page in the SEO title and the meta description can have local or contact page. So, you know, you could always get one page and do it for local. What do they mean by accessibility? Is it for visually impaired? Is that what they mean?
I think, and Emily, I know you could probably answer even better in the chat if you want to pop in real quick, but from my understanding of Emily's business, all things accessibility. So following WCAG standards around anything that enables a website to be truly accessible to all users of the web. And so, yes, anyone obviously with any kind of visual impairment, but it goes so much farther beyond that. We're dealing with contrast. And I know Emily could probably do such a better job of articulating this, but
yeah, so I feel like
all of those components.
That's a mine, right? Gold mine for keywords right there. Okay. Like what is even that? Like explaining that in her services page, you know, how is my service different? You know, why do you need this? Why does accessibility matter, especially now? You know, the importance of contrast, like you said, there's other things too. And this is very important. And the funny thing is, not funny, but alt text, even though I really use it for SEO, it was made for people that can't see what that image is about. So one true story, Beyonce got sued by someone who was visually impaired, who said her site was not friendly to shop. So, you know, we do need to make our websites, you know, more accessible for sure.
Amazing. And one thing too, I've seen a couple questions pop in. I love Emily. She says, you're getting my creative brain gerbils running. I love that phrase.
Before we leave, we definitely need to just tap on what has changed blogging wise.
Please do. We did get questions about like, how does this apply to blog posts as you were talking? So dive right in.
Okay, so blogging, I have good news. I'm going to talk to the photographer, well, anybody that has a portfolio of services. Do not blog every session. That is dead. Do not do that. That's awful, right? There's only so much you can say about that cute baby, okay? There's only so much you can say about the seniors. What you do instead, I'd rather you write one long form post a month, and I'm going to scare you all. I'm going to challenge you all at least 500 words, but if you break it down into 5 little sections, easy. Interview your clients, get them writing the blog for you. After your work, hey, what was your favorite part? What did you like about the design process? You know, what are the tips you have for a bride ordering custom invitation? You know, why did you love working with me as a brand, you know, for your branding? What did you learn from me that you didn't know about accessibility for your site, for your site design? So nowadays, we need to be a resource. Our blog needs to be a resource. So roundup posts. Here are the top 5 senior girl portraits from last fall. Here's the top 10 family. Then you're featuring several families. You're emailing all these people and say you were featured on my blog. They're sharing it out. You have more content. Google loves you. The other tip for blog posts is, please, if you're into local SEO, be a tourist in your town. Top 5 places in Houston to take your kids during COVID. You know, the best fall events for children, because then those moms are going to find that resource. They're going to remember that you are a resource. They might recommend, they might not need your services, but they might recommend you. And those blogs are way more fun, right? Wouldn't you say that's way more fun than like, here's another whatever, like, you know, here's another logo I did. It's just not fun. So FAQs, common questions, being a tourist in your town, roundup posts, curated posts. You know, we usually do those in January, like best of 2021. No, do those now. Like do it by seasons, do it by quarter, because then you're going to get that one long form blog post in. You could share it on social media. Your clients will share it. Like that is the new blogging strategy for sure. Ooh, Dina, best ex restaurants for anniversary dinner. I love that.
I love this. And what you're really tapping into is what I just want to highlight something you referenced in the very beginning, which is thinking not like your industry, but thinking like your customer, your client, getting into the mindset, not just of even what they're going to be searching for specific to your services, but like, as you mentioned, if you work with a certain segment of the market, what are their pains? What are their experiences? How can you connect that to your local area? How can you become the resource, the expert? And you mentioned credibility from the very start. Be the credible resource that people need. And I'm hearing that in how you're creating the content. So it's not just, you know, here's the photo shoot I did, but it's let me create something of value for the person searching on the other end.
Right. And remember, and when I talk about credibility, it's yes, with our clients, right? I like as a trusted business, but it's also for Google. Like, how do you become credible in the eyes of Google? You follow its rules, right? Because they're a business, they want their people happy. And you built this long-term relationship by providing content, by, you know, being a resource online. So Christy has an interesting question. So this happens when you pivot. So let's say you went from newborn photographer to weddings, or weddings to newborn photographer, and you have a post that's ranking really well and you no longer do that. Please do not delete that post. Blog post. Do not delete that page, but put a note in there and say, oh, you know, thank you so much for checking out this blog post. I no longer offer X, but I now offer this. Check out this, my portfolio page, or check out this page. Number one. So she says she pivoted from photography to education for photographers and editors. And she's still ranking for that local keyword. That's good because it's a good Google signal. It's a Google factor, like, oh, you're ranking, you have good content. So don't worry about that. But my question back to you is, what kind of education? Is it business? Is it editing? Is it lighting? You need to get specific on exactly what you do, what kind of photo education that you do. So for example, mine is SEO for photographers, right? So yours might be business. So I know a lot of photographers are looking for mentors online, and using the word online, business coach online, grow my photography business. Look at those common questions and make sure you're answering that in your service page. I hope that helps.
This is straight gold. I feel like you've just been sharing gold the entire time.
I'm so glad.
Oh my gosh. We do, since we are a community made up of a lot of creative folks in general, can we dive into, and I'm so curious if there are things we can be doing to optimize our imagery. You know, what can we do from an SEO perspective to optimize images? And you mentioned, for example, ensuring that we are using alt text to make our imagery more inclusive for those using screen readers who you know will be able to then understand. But I'd love to know a little bit more, like what else can we be thinking about when it comes to imagery?
Please do not blog and add 100 photos to a blog post. That's going to weigh your site down. Okay. And now the huge Google update this year is about user experience and page experience, and it has to do with speed. So for example, I'm going to be switching my platform because my speed is just not getting there. So on WordPress, you could use a plugin like Short Pixel, which will compress images and still keep the quality. I think Blogstomp has a great feature for that as well. So look up just how can you compress your images. So Fuse, what is the best web size image? Honestly, it depends on your theme. So for me, I typically don't recommend an image file size being more than 1,000 pixels wide. Like, so some of y'all, it's 2,000. That's going to be heavy. That's going to slow down your site. And then, you know, I know for the wedding peeps, like sometimes you want to blog the whole thing. Don't do that. Put a little slideshow, link to your YouTube channel. do a photo slideshow of 100 pictures instead and say, hey, do you want to see the rest of this? Go to my YouTube channel, go to my Instagram, take them somewhere else. So we're definitely not adding all those pictures anymore. You want to make sure that the size is smaller, they're not huge files, so your site can load fast, and that it's mobile friendly. That is really important. So some people like to geo tag their images, which you could do in Lightroom. You could do in other sites online as well, where you can put location information. But you can create a preset in Lightroom that has that, Denver baker, wedding baker, or bake shop type of a thing.
This is all such good information. And I love this. Someone saying, yes, compress your photos. Now, a question did just pop up here, and I think this is a good one to kind of throw in with a slight pivot here that Penny asked, because I know this happens, and I know this is something that can catch folks off guard. So Penny asks, so there is a photographer that has used my business name as a way to pop up on Google. How are they doing that? SEO, or is that an ad strategy?
So usually that was the one question I didn't want to answer because I don't know.
Oh, sorry, Feuza.
No. I'm honest. When I don't know something, I don't know something. The only time I've seen that, is with Google Ads. But okay. I mean, the big companies do it. So for example, look up Best Buy. They have an ad for their brand name, because they know other people will compete. First of all, if you're looking for something similar to Best Buy, they're going to show up. So that's Google Ads. So that's not organic, that's paid. Usually it's Google Ads. If someone, typically they're not using in their page titles and descriptions on the organic side, but they're doing something paid. But let's say they were doing on the organic side, I just don't know if you can flag it to Google or report. So that is the question I'm going to have to investigate myself, because the only time I've seen it is when for Google Ads. So they're basically using the competitor's name in their Google ad, and I don't know if you could report that to Google Ads. Maybe you can, because the big companies don't do that. They pay for their own name. So one strategy you could do is, if that's being done to you, pay some Google Ads for your name to see if that will just increase your web visitors, and some leads, and try that route.
Yeah. And I will say, I do know that it's done. And I jokingly had a conversation with a friend that said,
so in the spirit of, that's so pathetic.
Sorry. I know, but in the spirit of community over competition, there are two individuals in a certain industry, and I won't say anything that will reveal who they are, but they are like the two primary competitors in the education space for their niche. And they were competing AdWords against each other. And then but to the point where they were like, let's call a truce, because we're both outspending, we're like spending each other on these AdWords. Like there's no point. So it was kind of a moment of like, like we're gonna just stop doing it. But it does happen. It's something that like, it happens, especially with big companies. We see it all the time.
Yeah. And remember, SEO is like being in a race, right? It is a race. But I always say, like, first of all, if your foundation is not set, you're not even in the race. You're not in the race. So once the foundation is set, then you're in the race. But then that race is really focusing on your lane, right? Like, it's not about outranking Susie Q down the street. I always say this. It's about getting, like, what is the goal? What does conversion look like to you, right? For me, it might be a DM, it might be a form. For you, it might be them buying your preset online or ordering those custom invites. So all of us have different conversions of what that looks like, but everything we're talking here is to lead people closer towards that conversion, right? It's digital marketing, it's inbound marketing. And it's in order so we could run successful, profitable businesses. It's not so we can say, oh yeah, I'm ranking on page 1. And that's happened. I've seen people that are like, oh, I don't need new clients, I just want to outrank someone. Okay.
Right. Keeping your eye on the actual purpose behind this work is so important. I do want to just remind folks, we are going to pick a winner for our giveaway. If you weren't here in the beginning, we're giving away a $50 Amex gift card and the ultimate prize. Feuza is offering a 1-year access to her Ignite membership, which is valued at over $1,000. And all you have to do to enter, tag at Rising Tide Society, tag Feuza, which one I want to make sure I'm scrolling up, get your handle perfectly correct here. Give me 1 second, because I know it's at
Brian's laughing like, I don't need clients. I'm telling you, I can't make this stuff up.
At Fuse Creative Inc. Yes, I know. So tag Rising Tide Society, tag at Fuse Creative Inc. Instagram stories, tell us what you're learning, share where you're tuning in from. Kate is going to be pulling a winner of that giveaway in about 5 minutes.
Oh my God,
So
are we almost done? I have so much to share.
I know. Well, we need to, I mean, my gosh, we could do 50 of these. And also I want to also just add one more thing. I know a lot of you are asking very specific questions for your business, your niche, exactly what you're offering. And this is where I would say, I highly recommend connecting, with Feuza offline or in the offerings that she already has, to get deeper into the nitty gritty of what you need. If it's, because some of these questions are really good, but they're so particular. I want to make sure we're asking
Christy's questions though, I think needs to be answered.
Go for it.
Would you do all these FAQs as blog posts, or is that good enough, or does it need to be on my services page? Your first place is service page. Because if your service page has 150 words, then you're missing content. And the easiest thing to fill content is those people also ask questions. So I'll give an example: maternity photographer. When is the best time to take my maternity pictures? What should I wear for my maternity photos? Do you provide clothes, or where should I shop for my? That should be in your service page. Can you do a blog post that says the 10 top props for maternity pictures? Absolutely. Do you see the difference there? Same thing with like cake smash. Those are good blog posts. So you could get like deeper into, senior guys, senior girls, senior sports stuff in your blog post. And also from that service page, you're linking to those blog posts as well.
Amazing. Are there any other questions you spot right off the top, Feuza, that you want
to? Somebody says, how can we track? It's always Google Analytics. So I'm not a fan. A lot of people use some plugin to see and then their rankings are going up and down. I think that's very distracting. The best thing is Google Analytics, because again, it's about those conversions. It's not about if you're ranking on the first page for that main keyword, right? So if I have Google Analytics installed, then I can, last year we can't count 2020, but let's say this year, in February, I could compare the next year, February, and see, hey, I'm on target, or hey, I'm down. Like, what can I change on my website? What can I do to improve? So just be careful with plugins or apps where you're getting sidetracked by this ranking race that I call, which is just not healthy, and it's going to distract you from really obtaining those true conversion goals.
Amazing. I'm also curious. I know Megan is asking here if you have any good examples of a good workflow to have when someone wants to go and publish a blog post, or any best practices for someone in actually creating and publishing a blog post that you just feel are important to kind of keep in mind in that workflow.
Yes. So what I do, and I think it's what works best. So I get a blog post idea, then I create my outline first by looking at the people also ask. Then I already get my little sections. Then I write the blog post, and I know I'm getting the keywords in, or if I'm interviewing my client, I'm getting the keywords in naturally. So I think that's great. So that works really well for me. If you're in WordPress, you should definitely be using the Yoast Seo plugin, but that doesn't mean you install it and you actually have to manually override every time you do a blog post and on all your pages. So I always say it's like shooting it in manual versus automatic. So if you install the blog post, it's a machine, better than the machine, right? So you should be filling out your Yoast settings for every blog post. The other thing with blog posts now, since people are skimming and not reading like before, you want to break up your text as much as possible, add images, bolding things is cool, making a title a different color to capture somebody's attention. And then one thing that, how are you going to entice them to read something else at the end? So do you have a related post plugin where they could read another similar topic of that blog post? So we want to keep them engaged, or is it really small, share this, really small. So looking at those blog settings and blog post settings for people to share. And tags are old school SEO. Actually don't recommend you use them, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Unless you are a food blogger, design blogger, home decor, that's different. And also, I definitely don't recommend for you to have more than 8 categories in your blog. Because a lot of you will just start doing categories like tags. You're like, oh, newborn photos, newborn baby, newborn photographer. And it just kind of is redundant.
So good. So good. Let's see here. Will linking out to other sites like YouTube or Instagram hurt your site's ranking?
I love this question. Okay, so one, I think untapped SEO strategy for local businesses is the power of local. So about 6 years, maybe 7 years ago, there was this big thing. All the wedding photographers and wedding people wanted to be in the big blogs, right? Green wedding shoes, style me pretty. And that's great. But a lot of these blogs don't give you a follow link back. They're called no follow. So that means no SEO juice comes back to you. It's still good. Let me tell you, if like, Inc. magazine wants to feature me with a no follow, that's fine. It's called social proof. That's okay. But it is so much better if you're a local business to get a link from somebody locally and a small wedding blog near you, or a vendor. So interviewing each other is really good. And honestly, I help my vendors out. I'm not going to put a no follow link if I'm featuring people or other businesses. I want to help them, and I'm going to tell them I'm helping them. The no follow thing should definitely be done for affiliate links. So if you have Amazon affiliates, anything affiliate should always be a no follow link. And don't be offended if a site turns to you and say, I'm not going to give you a follow link. I'll tell you why. If it's a site that's featuring a lot of people, that's to protect their site, because they can't control. Because when you give someone a follow, you're basically giving them a vote of confidence. So if I'm a site that I'm featuring like 1,000 people, I can't really verify that all these websites are good websites, right? So I'm going to protect my website. So I hope that helps. Does that make sense? Let me see what else.
Yes.
But yeah, so featuring each other, interviewing each other, there's like local networking, guys, even if it's virtual. Is there a co-working, space near you where you can connect with people? Like I really see how amazing local networking has been for my business. So there's so much power in local.
Oh my goodness. Let's do one more question. I'm going to let you choose unless you want me to pull one, because we have so many good ones popping in here into the chat. And I love everyone saying that they have pages of notes. Megan saying, my notepad was on fire. Sarah saying, I haven't stopped writing notes. This is awesome.
Okay, one thing I'm going to say about blog posts, please do not buy pre-written blog posts. Because if 20 other people are buying that same blog post and you're all publishing that blog post, it's called duplicate content. So Google doesn't like that, right? Because somebody asked, should I give a blog post myself in between produced blogs, like more personable? What do you think of hiring a blog business to do your? I think you could hire people to do your blog post for sure, as long as they're covering those topics, as long as they know how to optimize it for SEO. It doesn't have to be like personal stories. You can mix a personal story, once in a while in there. I am going to test, so I can't say this is bad or good, but there's a lot of things coming out in the AI world where they're writing things for you. I'm going to test that out. I think that could be interesting if that's going to help me get copy out there faster, and it's going to be unique copy and good, obviously I'm going to check, but that is something that's in the works. And when it comes to SEO, it's really important for you to know the SEO sections of your site. So independent, if it's Wix, Squarespace, so all of these have SEO sections. There's one photography related site that I'm not a huge fan of, but I can't remember the name, but I think it's a name, but I don't want to say the wrong name. But basically, whatever website platform you're using, you should have full access to optimize what's called page title or SEO title and your meta description for each page. If that's limited, then you need to get out. Now, I also am a big proponent of using what you have, right? Wix is not the greatest for SEO, but Wix can rank. Like my husband's site is on Wix, but I made sure that all the pages are optimized. I made sure that my URL links are not crazy, because some of y'all are keyword stuffing your URL links, and Google does not like that. Like the permalink, it should not be like Denver, wedding photographer, Dustin. It shouldn't be a long permalink. It should be, Google loves hierarchy, nice, clean sites. There was a question about Alaska, but I can't remember now. I thought it was interesting. Alaska person.
Let's see. I'm scrolling back up. I think it was, I feel like way back here. Let's see. Someone asking a question about Alaska. Oh, okay. All right. No, there are a wedding photographer. So no, I think we answered that, well, at least where I see Alaska referenced was Penny's question about a
Oh,
competitor.
okay.
But oh my gosh, we covered quite a bit. This was, I'm telling you, can you just, everyone who's tuned in right now, will you just let us know, how was this for you? Did you take a page of notes? Because I'm going to rewatch this so I can actually go back and take my own notes. Yes. So amazing. Thank you. Fire. Woohoo. This was awesome.
Yes,
Fantastic. I can't
fire
even keep up.
fuse.
I need to,
I
I
do
love
have,
it.
okay, one of the questions that we had before, Natalie, real quick.
Yes.
Somebody had asked, where'd it go? Do we need to mention our location or area we service on all our web pages? Okay. If you are a local business, like I said, wants to be found for your local business, many times I'll visit local businesses and have no idea where you're located. So it's important on your homepage, even especially if you don't have like a studio or a brick and mortar, based in Atlanta or based in Dallas, Frisco, Texas, serving Dallas and the DFW. I always forget. Yes, Dallas Fort Worth, DFW area. It should be on your homepage, your about page, and your contact page for sure. If you are a brick and mortar business, should be full address in the footer, Google Maps widget thing on the find contact us page for sure. So that is such a quick, easy thing to fix. And also in your SEO titles and descriptions, you can have location specific keywords for sure in order to be found.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
All right, I need to stop.
Before we close, I want to make sure, where can people dig in more? Because we've got so many questions and so much more that people want to learn from you. Where would you like us to direct them? Where's the best place that they can continue to learn from you, get connected?
Sure. I mean, Instagram, I think, is a great place, especially if you want to send a quick DM or have a question. You also can find out, I'm going to be going back to Clubhouse. I kind of paused, but I do free SEO audits on Clubhouse where you come in, give me your site, and I'll just tell you what you see. So that's been really popular. So I say Instagram, and then I have a free Facebook group too that you can join, and that link is on my Instagram account. So I think Instagram is just the easiest, so you can see. I do offer done in a day VIP SEO services, which is actually taking off amazingly. It's working really well. I feel like I'm finally in my zone of genius and people are loving it. And then I have the membership as well.
Which, speaking of the membership, we've got a giveaway to announce here. And I first want to say thank you to everyone who shared watching behind the scenes. And even if you haven't shared yet, still encouraging you, give Feuza a shout out here, give her a tag, give her some love on social media for showing up and serving us, all of us.
Somebody wrote
sitting
in
here today.
Obrigada. We have a Brazilian in the house.
Amazing. Oh, I love it. I love it. But I do want to say our winner for today, if I could do like a little drum roll, is at Holly Lund Imagery. At Holly Lund Imagery, you are our winner. You're getting a $50 Amex gift card and 1 year of access to Feuza's amazing membership.
Please email me your email, or you guys can send me so I could set her up in the membership thing.
Amazing. Yes, Holly, we're going to send you a DM from the Rising Tide account or Kate or my account in just a little bit. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much. And again, Feuza, thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of all of us here. I hope you saw that love.
Yes, I'm like, ooh. And guys, remember, so 2 quotes that I love. Be you, everyone else is taken, even if they're taking your business name, just be you. Number 2 is done is better than perfect. It's really easy to get overwhelmed with 10 pages of notes, but like, what is the one thing? For you, it might be your Google My Business, just adding a few photos. The next week might be adding location to your website. Then the following week might be, oh, where is the SEO section on my site? So take action. See what, like, there's easy things that can be done today, but don't overwhelm yourself with this huge to-do list that nothing ever gets done. So thank you, Natalie.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I also want to give a big thank you to Kate Masters, who's been behind the scenes preparing everything and making it all run and dropping Feuza's links. If you didn't catch those right in there, where you can see her Instagram, her website, her membership, you can get access right now. Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you, Feuza. Thank you to every single human being in this room who showed up and invested back into your business today. We are so grateful for you, and we can't wait to see you at next month's Tuesdays Together. Take care, everybody. Thank you.